Welcome to the No Stand Zone podcast. As always, my name is Tiae. It's good to have you guys here. You guys are the number one fans in the world, my favorite people, and it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure that I can be here, and you can be here listening as well, where we can share information and ideas about things happening in the Nigerian music industry. That's what this podcast is all about, centered around the African music scene, basically, and a little bit of things happening around the culture as well. We'll cover that later on in the show on a particular segment I call Beyond the Zone. So beyond the music and all of that, we'll talk about that later on in the show. Got exciting stuff to discuss with you today. It's been trending all over social media this past week, talking about Nigerian footballer Boniface making history. Well, in his own way, in the I was about to say genre, in the field where he is in this field of soccer. I want to stay tuned for my take on everything that's been happening just around him as an individual, kind of like where he is today. And thank you once again also for listening to previous episodes. I check it out every single time and I see the downloads. Please do not forget that while you're there, we also have a YouTube page. It's the No Stand Zone podcast on YouTube. Please subscribe and like as well. And please, wherever you're listening to this audio, whether on Spotify or on Apple Podcast, please leave a review as well there. And we're trying. I mean, leave 5 stars. Anything less than 5 stars, I'm going to be thinking you're a hater, right? Like you're just listening to just hate on what we're doing here. But I know that's not the case. So please, while you're there, please extend a hand of kindness while you're there to hit the like button, give us 5 stars, leave a positive review. And if you have any other different takes to any of the things I talk about here, please feel free to hit me up on the DMs, especially on Twitter. I'm there most of the time. This is not what I do full time. Okay, so I promise that I check my DMs, all of that, every single day and different times during the day to kind of check what is happening around the world or what is happening around the music industry, especially in Nigeria. So if you have a different take, please do not hesitate to hit me on Twitter or DM me on Twitter. Is Tiae Sound. That's Tiae Sound on Twitter, just all one word. And you can also send a DM on or follow, especially the pod page on Twitter as well. Is No Stand Pod. That's No Stan Pod on Twitter as well. Or if you are like the person that wants to send a more detailed message, you want to send us an email, is nostandpod@gmail.com. nostandpod@gmail.com. That being said, let's dive into what I've got for you today. Lots of folks released albums today. This past week, I listened to all of them, and like I promised as well from last week, Niniola's album, I also listened to that. You want to stay tuned. The big news or the big topic of the day, I want to share my thought on that, is the future of Afrobeats. And it will be talking, especially on this pod, I've been talking about it the past few weeks. I've got some positive news for you. All right, it's not all doom and gloom. So stay tuned for that later on the show as well. So without further ado, let's start with the very first one this week. I promised that I would give my take on this. Let's start with Niniola's album titled Press Play. And honestly, I am so glad that she is still able to remain, to still be relevant today. She comes from a different generation for sure. I mean, the same generation with people like YJ and the rest, still that same, they kind of coming up at the same time and kind of relevant at the same time. And I'm not trying to age her out of the game. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm trying to give context to, she's not someone who just started like a Fireboy or Ira Star, is what I'm trying to say. She's been in this industry for a while. She's stood the test of time. And I'm just so glad to hear her voice. Basically, I was just so happy that she has a project out. I honestly have been waiting for that. She had released a couple of a couple of like singles in the past, and I was kind of waiting, like, what does she have? What does she have? And so when I saw that, well, an album is out, I was like, well, thank goodness that that has happened. And so there wasn't any hesitation for me to dive into this album. So the album is titled Press Play. My thoughts on this album. First of all, let me say that I actually do like it. It seems that she's working with this sort of like house kind of sound, right? And so it was a full album of that mixed with some amapiano as well, all very like high energy. All the songs giving you that high energy. Even the songs that were a little slow, they still they didn't want to kind of lose the audience there. They still kept the beat a little like high energy as well, but kind of slowed it down is what I noticed. So I first, just out of the gate, I really did like this project. Maybe not one that I would like listen to all the time, right? But just as a body of work, I think it was impressive. It didn't sound like a bunch of singles put together, which there's a tendency for that to happen in a project where you're working with a certain like energy and sound and style. It could sound like you just put together a bunch of singles, right? But it sounded whole. I would give her that. Kind of my other like displeasure about this album is, and the way I listened to it, I didn't listen to it like looking at it like, oh, this is track 1, this is track 2, that kind of thing. I just kind of listened to the whole thing, right? I just let it play, and I was just kind of listening for kind of like what is going on, right? 14 tracks, about 14 songs, 38 minutes and change. And I would say for the first half of the album, maybe the first, I would say like 6 songs thereabout, I cannot really say what happened. I think something was really wrong with the mixing, because it sounded like her voice was detached from the sound itself, from the music. So it sounded like her voice was just like back there, like back of the classroom, and the beat was just right in her face, right? Like I could feel the beat. I enjoyed everything that was going on, right? And the thing is, I also have to say, I like what the artists today are doing. It's like, because there is no one sound today like it was maybe 2 years ago, where everyone was trying to do amapiano and Afrobeat mixture, and it sounded like nobody was really just doing what was right for them. Right. I like the fact that what I got from her in this whole album, I haven't gotten from anybody else this year, which was good. It was refreshing in a way. And that was why one of the things I also give it good marks for, like, you just do your thing. What is unique to you? What makes you as an artist, right? And I will also talk about another artist who I think failed in that aspect later on. But it was just good to see that she was working with a particular style that is purely her, and she's been working around that sound with the singles she has been releasing for a while now. So it was just really, really good. I give her props for that. But the first half of the album just sounded like it wasn't properly mixed, right? From the very first single, I was just kind of like, wait, what is going on here? From like Lavish, Pepe Dem, Level, like I think the first half. But then I think I started to kind of feel like, I think I started to feel what was going on maybe by track 6 or so, and then by her song with Feels at track 7 kind of started to go in. I think it was like track 6. Yeah, I think it's track 6 that it kind of started to just hit home, like this was properly mixed, cooked together. But like the first 5 songs, it sounded not properly maybe produced, mixed. Something was wrong on the back end of those, right? It just sounded detached. Her voice was kind of wasn't mixing with the energy, right? I could feel the energy, but like her voice was just all the way on one side. So that already, I was like, man, what is happening? Like, you cannot start an album like this. I felt like at the point I was like, wait, did you listen to this after you arranged these songs in the order that you wanted it to be? Did you actually listen to it in the order? Because I cannot imagine that like she, her team, whoever is there, listen to this album the way it's arranged, right, the way they gave it to us. They actually listen to it that way, because it was so obvious. The first half was just not it at all, and that just took the air out of the room for me. And if not that, I'm listening to it because I want to share my thoughts on it, I probably would have zoned out or probably not listened to it the whole project, right? But and the thing is, not everyone has the leisure of that. Not everyone is lucky enough to do that. Like, your first half maybe not properly produced, or a good job not done, and then you can just come back in the second half and you still have the audience long enough. Not even today, and the way the market and just the way the industry is, right? I think that was a big disappointment there. The first half did not do it. The second half began to pick up a little bit. There was nothing really that stood out for me personally in this project. I think she had already released the song All Eyes on Me as a single leading to the release of the project. I already liked that I liked the song already, even before the release of the album. So outside of the songs that I already knew before, I was just kind of like, I don't know. But generally, I will say it was an okay, maybe just okay project, give and take. And I think she released that from last year. The All Eyes on Me was from last year, and I didn't even know she had released some of the songs even before this album. I'm seeing it here that she released Call Me Your and the JJ remix Level. She had released a couple of songs and I didn't even know, and because they were not catching anyone's attention. I think she had released Pepe Dem as well. Yeah, Pepe Dem is probably another one that kind of got me excited in this project. And yeah, I think that was the second one. And even I think the one that was released, maybe I'm getting this wrong, but the Pepe Dem in this album sounded different. I don't know how to describe it. It just sounded different. It didn't sound as like whole as the single that maybe it, sometimes the song just sounds different in the old, like in the project. Sometimes it sounds better, sometimes not. In just the overall look of the album, it didn't sound as good as it sounded as a single of it on its own. But generally, I will say I will give this like a 5/10 because she just stayed true to who she was. Some of the lyrics was here and there. I think she has owned this sound of hers that she's working with. It seems to be where she's a lot more comfortable today, so that's fine. But generally, it's like a 5/10. I cannot give it anything other than that. But generally, personally, I liked that album because I just have a different, like another level of respect for her, how long she's been doing this. I just like to even just hear her voice. The fact that she's still doing it today, I would say I'm biased in that already has her at a 4 for me. And all she had to do was do something a lot more exciting, and probably she could have been at a 7 or even 6 for me, which is high on a grading of any project. So for me, this album is like a C, a 5/10. Definitely could have been better, but overall, I liked the just a general outlook of the album. There was high energy. Her voice, she still sounds pretty remarkable. And I mean, just her longevity in the game as well, just puts her at a different level. Personally, how much I respect her and everything she's doing. Yeah, I think that overall, those are my thoughts. Yeah, but I really did like the album. You guys should, but if you were to ask me, Jay, should I listen to this album? This is actually worth a listen. Right? This is worth the listen. This is the kind of album, like, if I'm cleaning up, like I need to do a cleaning around my home, I will play this album, like, for sure, because it's like gives me the same energy, and it just sounds cohesive, like as a whole project. Just let it play. If let's say you're cooking in the kitchen, you need to do something, right? And you just need like a passive listen where you're not necessarily skipping any song because it's just out of the direction of the project. This gives you that, like, everything, it's in the same, you're going in the same direction. It doesn't veer off trying to do something that is not. So this, if you need a passive listening while doing something else, if you're someone who listens to music while you read or study, this for sure, you can have it either a high volume is banging, or you can just have a low volume, just keeps your attention, right? So that's how I grade this album. But if I to grade it, it cannot be obviously more than a C for me. So shout out to Niniola. Much respect from here, from me on the No Stand Zone, on the No Stand Zone podcast. We'll be looking forward to, of course, videos and just general promotions for this, from this album as well. So who else released album this week? Another person released album this week. Oxlade. This one is a special. So the album is titled Oxlade of Africa. This one is a special situation. If you've been listening to this podcast long enough, I mentioned a few weeks ago where I was asking for an Oxlade album. I have been asking for this album for a while now, and it has amazed me how this album is just being released now, right? I mean, you wouldn't even know that this man here had a song, Closer, one of the biggest songs in the world, about 2 years ago, having over 300 million streams on Spotify alone. And that was from like 2 years ago. No album in the past 2 years, after you having one of the biggest songs in the world, where one of the biggest artists in the world with like Usher vibing to your song as well. Now, I'm not going to like completely put all the blame on him, because I know this could have been, there's probably a lot of label, issues and all of that played into this, because there's no way. I don't see this happening with so many artists where they have songs so big and there is no project a year into that, 6 months into that we have to wait 2 years for a project. It's ridiculous. At this point, this album felt like, it's like someone just pour cold water on top my body, like to just dull me. I felt so dulled by this album. It was so anti-climax, is what I would say. I was listening to it and I was like, what am I listening to? I don't even know what this is. The moment I even saw what the title of this album was gonna be, Oxlade from Africa, I was like, whoa, like I just want to throw up, basically. Like, that is one of the ridiculous, like, I know album titles don't matter today, but that's just sounded so like cheeky to me. Like, who is this? Who are you speaking to? Oxlade from Africa. What the heck is that? You could have just named this my album. That would have done the trick, right? But all this like cheeky, my Oxlade from Africa. What the heck? It's like it should, like, I would have prepared Oxlade from Nigeria. That would have even like felt like you can spin something around that. But this Oxlade from Africa just sounded like you're trying to, speak to a certain demographic that honestly doesn't give a damn. And that, like what I was saying last week, for any Afrobeat artist, your primary audience is, first of all, I would say Nigerians in diaspora, and then Africans. Basically, that's it. Those are the people who are paying attention to you. Those are the people who actually are invested in your music. Now, there's the thing, you guys are going on media today, on foreign press and all of that, and that's fine. But then the thing, at the end of the day, it is not the foreigners who are making a majority of the people investing in Afrobeats today. They don't even, I would say the foreigners don't make 10%. Most of the people showing up, listening to your music, racking up all the streams on the different platforms are Africans, Nigerians, Africans in diaspora, Nigerians in diaspora. So this album title just kind of dulled me already, just already told me that I was skeptical of what this album was going to even be when I already saw the name a few weeks back. And then to just listen to the album itself, I don't even know what it is. And then the problem is this, because he has been out for so long, because I would tell you 2 years is long for a mainstream artist like him. I mean, I don't want to mention any artist's name. There are very few artists who can pull that off, be off for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and come back and banging, continue from where they were a few years ago. The market or the industry, whatever, must have moved on. But whenever they show up with their style or sound or whatever, it's like everyone is trying to catch up to where they are at in the moment. You're not that. And one thing that occurred to me was that everybody sounds like him now. The way he sounds now, I have been hearing this sound this same way from even the lyrics, his delivery, the way he picks the pockets in his music. There have been other people that sing like that and do all of that in the past 2 years that him now, there's nothing special or nothing that stands out about Oxlade anymore. Like the way he stood out 2 years ago. Nothing stands out about him. I was listening to some of the songs. I was like, well, I could have picked, just go on a New Music Friday and pick a random artist that is probably trying to make it today or whatever on the playlist, and it would sound like Oxlade. The message, the lyrics, the delivery, everything would sound like that. So listening to him sounded so uninspiring. Basically, he has lost what makes him special. Now, the thing here is this, and it's not like him per se. It's like he's been out for too long that, yeah, I think that's just a problem. He's been out for too long. The sound has moved away. And the thing is, when someone is popping like that, and it's not just with the Afrobeats or Nigerian music industry, when someone is popping like that, an artist is popping, there's a way it inspires other artists, right? I mean, Taylor Swift today inspires a whole bunch of, ladies who are doing pop music today. Like, it just happens. Wande Cole has inspired a lot of them, even Oxlade to Fireboy to Joe Boy. Like, if an artist is popping, they inspire other people as well, right? So you kind of, when you get to that level, you need to find a way to make yourself exciting, because another artist could just come up from nowhere and people gravitate towards them. Although, their style is kind of, they take some of that from you. And I think that's where he is at the moment. It's like, I was listening to it and it could have been any random artist or any random song from a new music Nigeria playlist that I listen to every Friday, right? New Music Friday playlist basically is what it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, I began to kind of pity him at the same time, because I cannot imagine he thinks this is a great project. I can't even imagine that he thinks this is a great project. I cannot imagine he's sitting at home and he's listening to this project like, this is my best work. This is far from his best work. It's way, way, way below par for a mainstream artist today. I mean, from artists who, as at 2 years ago, one of the biggest songs in the world. And the thing is, when he had Closer going for him, nobody anywhere that knows him or just on this, like, knows him as an artist, I would say, will have thought that, oh, that was a fluke, or he's not as good as we know he is. Like, we saw that song and we know, oh man, he's obviously a really good artist, and it's not like he can give us hits every week or something like that, but oh, it's not a fluke, like he's not a great artist, that kind of thing, right? You just looked at it like, yeah, he deserves it. He's been working hard. He can give us good music, that kind of thing. So with that at the back of my mind, there's a bar already. And this is it's not like, oh, this is below par or whatever. This is way, like, if we say there's a bar, this album did not even get off the ground to even say, oh, it's a little bit below or way below. This album didn't even get off the ground for me. Nothing out in this album. It's like, there were some of those songs that the moment I heard the very first verse, I heard the chorus, there was nothing for me to listen to again, because I'm like, there's nothing you have for me in this song again. I know what you are about to do. You're about to give me the chorus again, or maybe give me another verse, and it doesn't look like you're gonna do anything that I'm gonna miss by not listening to the last 1 minute or 1 minute 20 seconds of this song. That was how I felt. And this is not a reflection of who I think Oxlade is as an artist overall, because I still think he is an incredible artist. He's a great artist. He's got a very unique to him, like, voice and all of that. Like, you hear an Oxlade verse, you know, oh, that's Oxlade. You can tell him from the crowd. But then as a body of work, this just sounded so uninspiring, so below par, and I think he can do better. Unfortunately, we're not going to get an album from him tomorrow where it's going to make us forget this terrible work that has been put out. So the thing is, we have to sit with this, and for maybe another year or 2 years, where it's like, oh, underwhelming Oxlade, until hopefully he's able to find his way out of this hole. I don't want to use a strong word, but it's just sad that this is where I think he's gonna be. It's gonna be out of consideration for, like, either any artist that is getting our attention or inspiring us or getting us to be like, whoa, what is that? He's not gonna be in that conversation for another year or two, until he has maybe something he wants to put out again, working on another project. So unfortunately, this album did not do it for me. It was a quick listen, in the sense that once I listened to the first part of some of the songs, I just quickly moved on. Now, there were some of the songs that he released before the album that I liked. They did it well for me, like the Intoxicated with Dave. I actually liked that single, really good. I think another one he released before the album, Category. I was one of those one of the very few who actually liked this song. I think he released a 2-part when he released this song, Category, and one other song, I can't remember. They were together on that he released together. I think it was Intoxicated and Category together or something like that. But I really did like this Category. It sounded really good. So but the song even sounds detached from whatever he was trying to do throughout this project. I don't even know what was put together here. Honestly, I don't know. I really did not like this song. This project, it could have been way better, because I think he's a better artist than this. It's like a footballer giving you a bad day at work, like on the field. Like, they lose, but oh man, Messi didn't play well today. It could have been better. That kind of vibe. That is what this album is giving me. It's not a reflection on Oxlade, like, generally as an artist, but this album wasn't good at all. And I know I cannot believe, like, I cannot even imagine that he's sitting wherever he is now and he's thinking, oh, this album was great. I'm sure they've gotten feedback already from people, and it's like, yeah, this is not it. this is not it at all. Please do not hesitate to let me know what you think about any of this project. If you have a different perspective, please let me know. I'd like to hear what you think. All right, send me a DM on Twitter. Is Tiae Sound. That's Tiae Sound on Twitter. Let me know what your different perspective is, or if you agree with me and there's a different angle to it as well, like that you've noticed, you want to bring to my attention, please hit me up. Let's talk about this. Let's share ideas, and it makes everyone better. Still on the album matter. Still on this album matter. Another guy who released album this week, and you see that I changed on to Pidgin, because to talk about this guy, I think that is his vibe. He gives that street Pidgin kind of vibe on just, I think, as a brand. Now I'm talking about no other person than Nasboi. He calls himself Nasboi. He's a new artist, basically. And the thing is, anyone who knows, Nasboi is known for being a comedian. Up until maybe, was it last year? Yeah, last year, I think that was when he started to release, 2023, the very first song he ever released, Lover Boy. And it was shocking to everyone, because we're like, well, you're a great comedian. Like, he does a lot of the short form skits that we see on social media. I see most of all those things on Twitter. I think some of them really, really funny. Like, I think he's a funny guy. He gets along with a lot of people in the industry. And so when he decided to be an artist, I was like, what is going on? But then the thing I think with Nasboi is this, or what I noticed, and I haven't spoken about this because I didn't, honestly, and I'll keep it real with you guys here. I wasn't paying attention to him as an artist because I just felt he's not a serious artist, right? And the reason why I felt that way from like the release of the albums, of singles leading to this album, is that most of them were not, those songs were not, the promotion of the songs were not on the song itself. Most of it was centered around just the other thing. Like he always has a lot of celebrities in his, either in the music video for the song or in the promoting the song. He brings all his comedian friends, actors, all these people just to create buzz around the song. And I understand that maybe, okay, as a new artist, you really want to leverage those people who you have connections to, who are public facing. And the more of them you have in your song, they're going to generate buzz about who you are. And if you're a new artist, you want to leverage all of that. You really get yourself out there, like, boom. If you have the resources to do that, why not do that? But then the problem with that is you already have a brand that we know you for. So I'm thinking that if you want to be known as strictly Nasboi the artist, you kind of want to distance that away from that brand. Not necessarily like, oh, you're not going to be funny anymore. It's going to be you, who you are. But I don't think you're going to have every Tom, Dick, and Harry who is an actor or a comedian be the person, be the faces we see when we see Nasboi the artist. Like, fine, we want to see Nasboi the artist. It's going to be you, the artist. It could be you being funny or what of that, but how am I supposed to take you seriously? It's what I'm saying. If every time you're promoting your song, it is still centered around comedy, skit, whatever, that's kind of like where the problem is, or was for me coming into all of this. I don't know I didn't know whether to take him seriously. But then the moment he said, oh, I'm going to release an album, it kind of made me pause and be like, okay, well, that is interesting. Let me see what this album is going to be like. Is this very first album? It's going to be interesting to know what kind of like where his head is at, the direction, his sound style, whatever it is he wants to let us know. Where is it going to be going, like with Nasboi the artist? And well, I listened to the album, and I would say, and on this show, I don't review, especially debut albums, the way I review every other album. right? The metrics, and I think it's fair that the metrics for viewing debut albums is not the same we give to someone who already has an established sound in an industry, has a brand and all of that. I don't think you look at them the same way because someone is starting fresh here, right? I think that is fair. Anyone who doesn't do that, I think you honestly are not being truthful and sincere and honest, right? So I'm different with people who are just starting out in the industry. So with that, listening to this project, I would give it to him that this sounded like an album. This sounded like time was put into it. It's your very first shot at it. Nobody, hardly anyone, like very few people have it all put together on the very first project. Like new artists, less than 2 years in it. Like I think it's less than a year, probably just a year and change. And you already have everything figured out. Not everybody does, right? Not everybody comes out again with a first album and blows everyone out. Very few artists are able to do it anywhere in the world. Very few. It's not a common phenomenon that artists come up with their first album and they blow everyone away. It's usually like, oh, you're introducing yourself, basically is what you're doing. And for some people, it's going to take time to level with where you are and whether they like it or not, whether they like you. And the thing is, you'll be surprised sometimes that what draws some people in is the personality of the artist, not necessarily the music. Sometimes the personality of the artist draws the listener in, and then they eventually like your song, they like you as a person, and then eventually it's hard to differentiate between the artist and the music, right? Because you just like everything together. And then when they mess up, it's like we can't differentiate the artist and their song and who we think they are. So when they mess up, it's like, yeah, I don't like this artist anymore. Therefore, I don't like the music as well. It's like that happens, right? And so when I heard this project, I would say that I will give it to him that it didn't sound disjointed, first of all. And for that, I would say that was good because I didn't know what to expect from someone who hasn't done this before. But it looked like a lot of time was put into it and a lot of features. And this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning about him. I'm thinking on a very first project where you're trying to introduce Nasboi the artist. This is a lot of features. Some people wouldn't even take you seriously. Some people would even wonder, can we trust that this is really what he wants to do or he can survive on his own? For example, like I talk about King Madi here a lot. Her first album didn't have as many of these singles, and she had a bigger trajectory even from her very first single, right? As a very first project, you don't want to have this many features and not this many heavy hitters on a project. And I know probably most people will be like, if you have the opportunity to get this artist, why not? No. If you're serious about this and about longevity, like you want to like longevity in the industry, and you want to be able to stand on your own, at least prove to yourself that I can do this. You can then go with remixes, have this artist come in and kind of help you out with reaching more audiences. You have the resources to do that, fine. Just looking at it, like heavy hitters, Tiae, he's going in the down Hall of Fame Nigerian artist. Tubaba legend, Falz, one of the best rappers we have today, right? Joe Boy, one of the most beautiful voices. Wande Cole, the legend. We just spoke about him, last week? And then you have Phil's extraordinary producer and artist as well. Like, these are heavy hitters you are introducing on your very first project. Now, for other people, it might not mean a lot. But for me, as someone who analyzes these things like a lot, looks at it a lot deeper, this doesn't tell me a lot about you. I still do not know who Nasboi is as an artist. I still do not know what his style is, because this is not all him. I felt like it would have done him he would have done himself a lot of favor by starting not with many artists, even if you have the resources and connections to do so. Because this tells me, even just listen, when I saw the feature, I was like, wow, he's in so many people's good books. So many people actually do like him. I don't want to believe that this is just him either throwing money around or throwing his connections, like calling in favors for this artist, right? I think it's way beyond that. If you're going to have this amount of heavy hitters on your album, on your very first project, many of these people do like you. And then again, I saw the like promotions on Twitter for this song Ashewo, which is probably the only song that I really did like on this project. The one that has Two-Face and Files in it. And the video I saw, back to what I was talking about, he brought in the skit makers to promote the song. Who are you as an artist? It should be just you promoting your song. I mean, eventually it gets really, we just fed up, right? It just becomes uninspiring, where every time I see you promoting your music, it's you with like the artists we know, the actors we know, the skit makers, the comedians we know. When are we going to get you, Nasboi, the artist, communicate with us? Like, what is your brand actually? Are you always going to be the comedian artist? At some point, you need to take it, like, we need to see you like a serious artist, right? At some point, if you want to stay long in this industry, at some point, these actors would not be on stage with you. You have to stand on that stage and perform your own songs, inspire the audience, gain listeners, and gain people who are going to be willing to come and pay and like come to your shows. You need to be able to build all of that. You're not going to do that by every time we see you, you're with one popular person or one celebrity. It doesn't work. And I know you're probably trying to get attention to your music and to your sound, but eventually at some point, it's just going to be you. These people have their lives to live. It's just going to be you, Nasboi. What do you have for us? When eventually you decide to have a show, go on tour, whatever it is, these people you're calling to be on videos with you, they're not going to be on the stage there. It's going to be you. And the sooner you get it and the people you work with get it, the better. Because if this is the way you think you're going to get longevity in this industry, oh my goodness, you're in for a shock at some point. You're in for a big shock. You're not lasting long in this industry going this way you're going. It's not happening, Nasboi, my guy. They happen. Look at all the people that have stayed here for 10 years. At least an average of 10 years. This is not how you get there. You're not going to get there by every song, you're making a skit, or every song has to be a dance routine on TikTok. Like, no. I mean, the music, like I said last week, at some point, the music has got to speak for itself. And you're not even letting that happen. Virtually any song that actually would get anyone's attention here is the one that's got features on it. None of the ones you are just alone inspires me. And please don't even tell me about how many streams this song have. Like, if that is the defense anyone has for him, for Nasboi, I'm like, well, that proves my point. You guys, that tells me you have no idea what you're doing. So back to this, how I feel about this album. I think overall, it didn't sound disjointed. And that was kind of like my bar for him, right? And this is not anything against him. I mean, if you listen to this part enough, you know that is the theme here. It's never personal again, like to who he is as a person. I'm speaking to Nasboi, the artist, and what his music sounds like and what I get from all of this. I couldn't point out a song here that where he is alone. That is what I was looking for, where it's just him. And I'm like, okay, I hear that. okay, oh, that's good. That's good. None of the ones where he's alone. The only one I could pick is because of how Baba and Fowles actually did on this song and the production, which has nothing to do with him. So everything that I liked about the song was not about Nasboi, was about everything else. The production, the producer, the mixing, and the artists they featured. That is a problem. If you're trying to build longevity in the game, if you're trying to be relevant and build an audience and all of that, you have to see that as a problem. You need to be able to stand on your own as an artist and hold your own. Because the question has to be, if I didn't have as many heavy hitters on this, would anyone really want to listen to Nasboi? That is the question. And your goal should be to make sure that the question to that, the answer from the audience is yes. That I want to listen to just Nasboi on a song the way I want to listen to any other artist. Like, it's not a comparison. Like, I want to listen to Ruger without a feature. Like, these artists that we admire today, we don't admire them because of all the artists they featured. We admire them because of who they are as an artist. Like, the fact that they can hold songs by themselves, their songs, not the songs that they had people feature on, or not even the songs that they featured, like they were the featured artists on. That's not why we like them. Maybe unless you're a Tiae $, who most people just like him. They like that he's great on people's features, right? But I mean, for most of the artists out there who are relevant mainstream artists today, they're loved and they've gained a lot of audience because these people love them for who they are as artists, not because people featured. People didn't like this artist because of the features they had on their songs or on the songs they were featured artists on. It's because of who they are as individual artists. I think he has a lot to learn. The team, whoever is working with, they have this wrong. They're putting the cart before the horse, is what they're doing here. It's obvious they have a lot of money to spend, because I don't want to believe having so many features on a project like this is cheap. At the same time, you've been able to gather all the comedians and celebrities to show up for every song you're trying to promote. Every song. It's tiring, bro. It's tiring. I don't believe it's cheap. They obviously have a lot of money to spend, but they're spending their money in the wrong place. This is a waste. Honestly, it's a waste. If you're going to build an audience, you're going to build a following, this is not how you build it. Nobody's going to be following you because I already mentioned that. Yeah. So, but overall, probably similar to the Oxlade album as well. Once I hear especially the one where he was just without a feature, because now I'm listening to, I want to hear what he has to say. On the features, I was like, okay, let me wait to the maybe second verse or whatever to hear the other artist on the song, right? So it was like, yeah, once I heard the first verse or whatever, I want to move on. And then, I mean, one of the most ridiculous on short skirt like our style, I'm like, damn, that is so, oh my gosh. Well, but then this is his first try at it, right? He should go back and really think about this. What is his goal? What does he want to achieve in the next 5 years? This is not how you do it. You're not gonna, if you have to call on a celebrity or whatever, or skit makers and comedian every time you have an album out, like, nobody's doing that. At some point, it's gonna be about you. So they need to figure all of that out. There is a lot to figure out before the next project. I'm hoping the next album, whatever, there is a lot to figure out before then. So, I mean, shout out to him. Anytime any new artist is able to put out a project, I'm sure a load has been taken off his shoulders. He probably is able to breathe now. Like, this must have been sitting in a vault somewhere, eventually being able to put it out. He must be feeling good, and he rightfully so. He should be feeling excited that he's able to put out a project now. And yeah, like, our criticism of the project, I'm sure it's something he should be listening to. If he feels this was great and he still wants to keep going like this, then he's not even going to be here 5 years with a decent following. He might still have enough money to spend and throw around, but if you want to have a decent following where you can go on tour, and I'm not talking about going on tour like white people, like just having Nigerians show up for you, especially Nigerians in the diaspora who have like the financial, power and all of that. You have to do a lot more than this. You have to do a lot more. Like, we've spoken about King Madi here, who did a show in Uganda, freaking Uganda, and you see all the like, this is how you build, man. It has to be about you. Now, when I think of King Madi today, I'm not thinking of King Madi and Buju. I'm not thinking of her song Ole with Buju. I'm thinking of See Finish. I'm thinking of King Madi as, like, King Madi the artist is what I'm thinking about today. When I think of King Madi, I'm not just thinking about she featured maybe she was featured on someone's song. I'm not thinking of King Madi and Kings Daniel with what's that song they have together, You Believe in Love or something. I'm thinking of her song Madi's Medley. I'm thinking of Chaji. I'm thinking of Sins for You. I'm not thinking of her song. I'm not thinking of her song with Chloe. The remix she has with Chloe. I'm thinking of her song American Love. I'm thinking of Vision. This was what I'm talking about. Like, you cannot build a decent following and longevity as an artist, and every time we see you, or all we know about you is the people surrounding you and the songs you have featured. That cannot be the goal. And moving forward, American Love. Why? See if it, like, all of this, she's been able to build such an audience out of just the features. Now, her biggest song to date is still the one she had with Buju, for sure, because that song is just beautiful, and Buju is who he is, right? But then she has walked far away from that. Not like walk away from the song, but she's climbed up from that, where we can be like, oh, as an artist, this is it. So, Nasboi, that has to be your next step right now, is you need to find a way where we take you seriously as more than just the comedian. That can be part of your brand, but we need to also see you as an artist. We need to see you as one. You're able to stand alone. There's a lot of work to do, man. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work to do. Ooh, I mean, we'll spent I went way beyond where like the time I thought I was gonna spend talking about this album. But you can hear it's not personal, right? Because I actually care about the artist, not just him. Every artist there actually care about they getting better, they getting bigger, make all the money. It's not like they're gonna give me or they know me. I'm gonna get a share. It's my love and admiration and passion that I have for the Nigerian music industry and the artists and the producers and just generally the industry as a whole. So sometimes if I criticize, it's not coming from a place of hate. Sometimes you need to criticize because you love. Sometimes you need to chastise because you love, because you like and you care, right? So that's just where it's coming from, and it's nothing personal to Nasboi as a person. I don't know him from Adam. Okay, so this I really wanted to talk about this. Oh, pardon. It's like we're gonna go way beyond where I thought today, but I really need to talk about this next topic, and I've been speaking about Afrobeats the past few weeks, like the genre itself, just the Nigerian music industry, Afrobeats and all of that, the past 2 weeks, and I've spoken about just some of the negative things surrounding the generally like the Afrobeats industry. Like I've spoken about our reliance on foreign charts, how our artists go on all these interviews that don't really, that doesn't really help anybody. Right. I've also what else have I spoken about? Let me do a quick check here. Things I've spoken about in the past few weeks. I've spoken about the fact that we, the audience, were not ready for Afrobeats to the world. Spoken about gatekeeping Afrobeats. Like I've spoken about a few things this past week, right? And the declining quality of album from Afrobeat artists. So I can understand why some people will be like, wait, guy, why everything is always like so negative around the industry? What is actually going well with the industry? And that's what I want to talk about today, because sometimes I will say, some people hear me say I care, and then all the things I'm talking about are just maybe negative and all of that. But I mean, I've spoken positive about albums and artists as well, right? So I'm sure if you've been listening to this long enough, I know it's not all about that, but this is just me thinking kind of like out loud here. And I would say it's not all doom and gloom for the genre. It's not all doom and gloom for Afrobeats right now. I think there's a healthy population of people, like listeners out there, those who like both passive and people who are really invested. There are tons of people, especially in the diaspora, outside of Nigeria itself, who I would think, I'm thinking would actually keep Afrobeats artists relevant for a long time. I just spoke of King Madi, a Nigerian artist, being able to go to Uganda and pull off a show in Uganda. And I'm looking at the crowd. They know the songs. They are they are reaching out for her. And outside of the fact that, I mean, the future of Africa would also, I mean, economically and all of that would help. But I think before we get there, especially on the diaspora, I think the future is bright. Let me give you some example to just kind of show you what I mean. Sam Smith, one of the biggest artists in the UK, big also in the US. He's got about 52 million followers, and this is just on Spotify. Like if you go to the Spotify page, it states there that he's one of like the 44th biggest artist on Spotify. If you look at another pop artist, Demi Lovato, she's got 28 million. Khalid, another R&B sort of artist, got 53 million. Camila Cabello, another like Spanish pop artist in the US, 43 million followers-ish. Lil Baby, a rapper in the US, he's got about 33 million. Now, have you seen all the artists? Now, let me call our biggest Afrobeat artist. Now, this might sound like, and some people have used this data to kind of clown some artists, but like, on the Afrobeats, on the No Stand Zone podcast, we give you fresh perspective here and kind of put context to things. So Burna Boy has got 23 million followers on Spotify. Rema, 22. Davido, 7 million. Buju Benson, 4 million. Ruga, 4 million. Thames, 19 million. Ira Star, 25 million. None of these are our biggest artists. And some of the artists that I've called right now are not even close to being the biggest artists in the US, in the UK, in the genres like pop and R&B and hip hop. They're not even close to these artists. The highest on Spotify is probably, I think, Burna with 23 million, right? We Rema close with 22. And Camila Cabello is not even there in the top 10 of top like pop art acts that are able to pull numbers, pull crowds in the US. And she's got 43 million. So where am I going with this? Burna Boy is able to sell out 20,000, 10,000, 5,000 arenas. Like, he's doing arena tours around the world. I can confidently tell you, Lil Baby is not doing that. And he's got two times, or how many times of Davido and Benson and Ruger's crowd. What am I about to say? Followers and monthly listeners and all of that, followers on Spotify. But he's not, Lil Baby is not able to pull and go on tour as frequent as Rema is going on tour. Literally, Davido just sold out. I mean, a few years ago, he sold out the O2. I mean, like 3 days or 2 days in a row. I can tell you that Camila Cabello is not able to do that. Why do I mention all of this? Our future is way outside, or the where we eat and we make our bag is not on these digital platforms. And I think that is a blessing for this genre. Now, we might be noticing that our artists are not able to get maybe 300 million streams. But that, I think, in today's world, that doesn't tell us how truly our artists are doing. The DSP is not a true measure of success, because Burna Boy should not be able to sell out the arena tour he's been doing for the past 2 years. Like, this guy freaking sold out the Madison Square Garden and so many arenas around Europe with less monthly listeners than some of the top folks with streams online. So to our Afrobeat artists today, go on tour. The Africans and Nigerians in diaspora, I think they are the backbone of this industry. If you're good enough, they will spend. Young John was going to go on tour last year, and some of the event places he was speaking, people were trying to laugh at him. And I remember when I was on the space, and I was like, people, you guys are so sick and so ignorant. Not many artists are able to go on tour. Notable artists in popular genres around the world are canceling their tours. Any artist that is able to tour 5 cities, 10 cities today, and I'm not talking about just a room full of people, like you can actually gather 10,000 people together, you're in the 10%, it may be even less than that, of artists around the world. Not everybody is able to do that. If you're able to tour, you can make money, you can eat for the rest of your life as an artist. If all you do is release your album, you know where your followers, your listeners are, those who are ready to invest in you, you know where they are, you're able to target them, they will really, buy merch from you, they will buy your music, they will show up to your shows and all of that. Bro, you're good. This music industry generally, like around the world, it's not getting like a bed of roses everywhere. If you're able to release music today, you have dedicated followers around the world, not just in the locality where you are. And you can go on tour in different continents. You are in the right track. Our artists are able to go on tour. Rema can go on tour. Ruger can go on tour. Like, Ruger released an album last year. Probably most people did not give it like great reviews, like it was none of the greatest albums or whatever. But this guy was causing havoc everywhere he went with ladies, and people were ready to throw themselves on him. Like, the people who show up for him really love him, love his performance, just want to be around him. They love his music. And the thing is, the same artists most times, the same people who show up for Ruger, most likely 60% of those people are the same people that will show up for Buju, show up for Rema, show up for Burna, David, Wiz. The audience out there, the Africans, especially the ones in diaspora out there who have the financial prowess, are proud of our artists. They are proud of the culture. They're willing to spend their dollars, pounds, yen, euros, whatever, they're willing to invest in the artists today. I think that is a great thing. That is a big positive. For some of these artists, they have millions of followers on Instagram, millions of monthly listeners on social media, on DSPs, but they cannot show for it when it comes to people gathering for you as an artist. So if you're able to go on tour today, please go on tour. Don't give a damn about the awards. Those things mean nothing today, almost mean nothing today. If Burna decides to win all the Grammys, bro, people, don't allow that be what motivates you. Go out there, do the best, give the best music you can give. Get your audience. You people, I mean, the foreign labels are investing and all of that right now. Go on tour. If you're able to go, if you're able to get 2,000 people in 10 cities, that's what, 20,000 people show up for you. Not so many artists can mention that. I think the future is great for Afrobeat. And then imagine this. Imagine that we get to a world where it even gets better, that African countries are beginning to have more financial, power and authority, like they're able to spend and buy and actually go to shows. Imagine the security in African countries are better, where these artists can do like a 20 cities tour around Africa and make so much money and so much buzz before they even get to Europe, America, South America, Asia, and the rest of the world, or even go to the Middle East. I mean, what the future is bright. It's not all doom and gloom for Afrobeats. Afrobeats has a bright future. Afrobeat has a bright present. Right now, it's bright. I think it's bright for Afrobeats. If for the people who can, I mean, for most of the mainstream artists out there, I think the future is bright. And I know it's expensive, and I'm not saying it's easy to get out there, right? But I'm just speaking generally that the future is bright for the genre. It's not all doom and gloom. I know we have, a lot of negative things, and some of the artists behave. There's a foolery in the artists, from Oxlade to recently Boy Spice to even Rema himself, going on some interview and saying all sorts of what I think is backed by ignorance. And some of the things he was saying, it's just tiring at this point. But generally around the industry, I think the future is bright. I'm happy for where we are today as an industry. A lot of people know who we are. We don't have to trend the charts. We don't have to sell millions of copies. And that's another thing. Thames is going around now, people showing, and I see some of her shows, which is great and all of that. Some artists will sell 10,000, 20,000. They cannot go around the way she's going around. Like we say she's going on tour now, the people that are showing up for her. Ruger, in this last album, did not sell 20,000 or 50,000 copies of his album. But this guy going on tour around Europe, the world. Oxlade was trending sometime last year, or was it early this year, for one lady that was dancing on him while the boyfriend was right there in the crowd. So I'm so happy for where we are today, and I'm so even more excited for what the future holds for this genre. We're just starting. The world thinks they know, they get it yet, but we're gonna be bigger. We're gonna be bigger. There's a large population of people out there, Nigerians across the world and Africans as well, who are investing. I mean, the Afro Nation and all of that don't exist without the Africans in diaspora. Those are like 80%, 90%, 95%, 98%, I would say, of the people who are investing in those festivals. Those festivals are not succeeding without the Nigerians and Africans in diaspora spending money and investing in those companies who are holding those festivals. So I'm excited for where the future is today for Afrobeats. I'm excited for where we are. I'm really, 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 I feel excited. I feel really good. All right, I feel really good. Good luck to everyone out there, every artist, especially Nigerian artists, African artists who are trying to expand, who are trying to get bigger. Good luck. I wish you all the very best. It's not easy. It's hard. Right? But you got to be clear with your goals, and you got to also be clear with who is the backbone of this genre of our music. You have to know who you should be pandering to. Naming your music Afrobeats of Oxlade of Africa doesn't tell me that you understand who your core followers and audience is. Because if you're speaking to us, saying Afrobeats saying Oxlade of Africa just sounds anticlimax and so ridiculous. You all need to understand who the backbone, who your core audience is, and those are the people you should be pandering to. And you guys know how I feel about this. I just spoke last week about the relevance of foreign interviews, right? And then this week we see Rema speaking to some white boy and speaking all sorts of foolery on that podcast, Left to Me, saying this came from, he had never heard 808 on it, and so he wanted to hear that 808 beat, and that's what inspired it, because it does not exist in Afrobeat. Man, shut the fuck up, bro. Sit down one place. People don't have to always go on all fours and lick the boots of every foreign interviewer of any foreign audience that you get in front of, and just say all sorts. You're who you are. You don't have to be the next shiny thing. You doesn't have to be, nothing has existed and I'm the best thing since sliced bread. You're who you are. Why are we still on that till today? How long are you going to be able to keep that up? You're still going to release your next album and tell us that, nothing had existed like that before, and that's why and then you release the next one and tell us, like, how long do we want to keep hearing all that rubbish? Man, I mean, time don't go today. It seems last one where I want to talk about, we'll push it till last week, but man, you guys know how I feel. Please, if you want to let me know what you think about this, please, let's share our thoughts on these topics. I'm open to it. As always, on Twitter is Tiae Sound, Tiae Sound. Please don't hesitate to send a DM and also follow. Also, No Stand Pod on Twitter as well. Please follow, and you can send your DMs there as well. On YouTube, we are the No Stand Zone podcast on YouTube. Please follow, leave a review, give us 5-star wherever you're listening to this audio as well. It's always a pleasure. I don't take you guys for granted. Always trying to get better here to make sure we're creating the best content for you. And we can create a community here as well. There is no hate here. There is no bad blood for anybody. I don't know these people personally. I wish everybody well. The sky is wide enough for every bird to fly without literally clashing into each other or wishing anybody ill will. So thank you very much for tuning in this week. It's always a pleasure to have you. As always, my name is Tiae. Until next week, please don't drink and drive. Don't text and drive. Stay blessed.